know that you wanted to touch or broach a specific subject matter, found the place, and then it started giving you tools as to how to write the screenplay? Or is it the other way around, where you found the location and it sort of gave you more sense as to all the different discourses that are occurring?
Okay, so the location, when did it came to place on this script?
Yeah.
So what happened is that I had a previous script that was supposed to be shot in Manaus.
Okay.
I was already looking for communities of stilt house because I wanted this water to be like, have this, the time of the film being told with this water coming up as the sorrow of the mother also comes up. So I don't know if you noticed, but like in the last shot when the water is inside the house,
yeah,
the other shot is like coming out of the water is coming out of her eyes, and then you have the huge shot with where you see the whole city flooded. So I was looking for this kind of locations, and then the place that I have chosen in Manaus was being destroyed for the World Cup, because a lot of those popular locations.
Oh my God! Okay.
So I started looking for other places, and what happened is that, all the stories, they are like connecting
interlinked.
People, yeah. But I'm going to you edit later because anyway. So a filmmaker friend of mine who lives in Manaus introduced me to a producer who is Colombian, who moved there when he was 8 years old. He read the script, he was like very touched. He said, "Oh my God, you wrote the script of my life. How did you know that?" And you know, I said, "Oh, it's this also the story of another friend. I interviewed a lot of Colombian living here and this and that." And he told me, "No, this film you have to meet Leticia because it takes place in Leticia, which is the border city. You have to go there. You need to go there. You're gonna find the place there." So when I went there, I finally found this island, which is like even better than the location that I had found before.
Yeah.
Especially because it is also like this world that is underneath the water and above the water. For 4 months it's under the water, and for 8 months it's over the water. So it's already two worlds in the same place.
Yeah.
It's with all these immigrants from all over living there. So it's kind of no country place.
Yeah, it's there's a transition to a location that's a very fixed location.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it gives it a multiple perspective or characteristic.
Yeah, it's almost a character, the island.
Okay.
Because it became it's this place where they organize themselves in the way they want. It's between living and dead. Is all this, and it's kind of a no place at the same time because everybody's immigrants is kind of waiting to go somewhere else. They're being kicked out of there, so everybody's kind of this floating.
This parallel world that exists. How was that something that again came into visiting this location and figure out, because
so I had this first script, but then when I met this place and I started interviewing people there, I was like, okay, this people is amazing. I have to have this inside the story. I have to have this abuelita here. I have to have the president of the island. So I rewrote the script. This is what happened. I got back home, and I rewrote from zero because it took so many years for me to get the foundings to make the film. Like the first script was from 2012, and then when I met the island, it was 2016.
Yeah.
So it's 4 years, and I had a kid in the middle. It was like I read my script, I was not recognizing myself anymore. So I rewrote from zero, and I incorporated their lives and their issues, their fight, and all their stuff into the script. So then what happened also is that the ghosting in the first script was already there.
Okay.
As a metaphor for the father who was there, was not like
omnipresence.
But then it became bigger when I discovered this island, because they really do live with the ghost there. It was something that when I was asking them, what are you afraid of, or what do you do after school, or what are the things that you like to play, when I was interviewing the kids who lives in this island, they start telling me about the ghosts of the island, who get inside your body and make you do things that you don't want.
So it's almost like your approach is almost like anthropological and forensic a little bit.
Yeah, and then I I make a fiction out of reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like after I got all these stories, I got back to the script, and then I created the scenes where they could talk or where they could live what they have told me. So they somehow they become characters of their own lives or their own issues.
I like films that show me how things work, from like the cooking scene to her going out of her way to find employment, but also how you detail what that grind is. I always appreciate that in films. It's very almost Dardenne-esque a little bit, but I really noted those details.
And also, like, for me as a scriptwriter and a director, I don't like very much when people memorize lines, dialogues. I hate, because for me it sounds like mechanical artificial.
Yeah.
So nobody had the script. I mean, only the mother and the father, they are professional actors, they received the script. But they didn't memorize anything, and like, because you said about the scene where the fish lady tells her like how to get fish with the hands and this and that, and it was amazing because we did cast somebody who were from working with that, and when we did like improvisations and rehearsals, this woman was just incredible and like saying, no, you can go to the water and get fish with your hand, and they're just like, oh my god, it seems so easy for her that.
When you're filming those moments, is there? Sorry, I didn't recognize if you shot on film. Did you shoot on film for this?
If I what?
Shot on film?
No, we shot on Alexia.
Okay. So when you're doing a scene, is there an end point and exit point, or you're just like mapping it out with them and letting those interactions?
No, we rehearsal for a month before, many times. So in the rehearsal, we kind of get shaping to get to the more essential things.
Okay.
Oh, say again that thing that you said that time. Okay, they say again that thing. Like little by little, getting to like more tight. Scene. And when we start shooting, then we had already. But it's their script, like it's something like if you read the script, you're going to say, okay, but it's very different what they say and what was on the script, but the meaning was the same. Like it was hard for her to get the job, and it was a lot of.
I quite like the aesthetic of a frame that doesn't move, the static camera. Mm-hmm. But I also appreciate when the static camera is sort of like left to discover worlds on its own. So there's these beautiful allegorical, symbolic use of the camera within the boats. I'm not talking specifically about the intro, but also later on when two people are discussing about business and they just trail off in the distance. I was wondering, how intent were you on framing the world in such a way where the camera lets life sort of like interact naturally within that the mise en scène? Like was that an intent that was built from the get-go? Is this something that we might have found? I haven't seen your feature debut. Is this something, a cinema?
It's totally
okay, it's totally different. Yeah. So how did you come to decide?
Almost because my
it's night and day?
Yeah.
Okay.
And camera, and I did the camera, I did everything. It's like a very guerrilla film.
Okay, guerrilla.
So in this one I was like, oh my god, I can put on the iPad. No, I'm kidding. I mean,
no, you're not kidding. I mean,
there is
it's heavy. This shit's heavy. It's annoying.
No, but there was like, for me, like the direction for the photography and art, there were like three things that were the most essential. Essential. Yeah. Things for me. One was that I wanted to talk with a lot of things out of frame. So most of the dialogues, the person who is talking, you actually see the reaction that the person who is talking. Yeah. And all the violence is outside of frame. Because we're talking about this context and these traumas that this woman is carrying. Okay. And I love when I see like her eyes go to places and to memories, and you don't know exactly what it is, but you can feel there in her body. So this was one of the things. So I decided to do like always storyboarded, because I really wanted to make sure like, that were actions coming out of frame, and also this thing of like who sees what. Yeah. Like the kid, for example, don't see the goals. So every time when is the camera of his point of view, is without the goals. So I have to be like very precise of like what is the point of view of each scene. Yeah. Then I also wanted to have like a lot of black on the frame. and to have the ghost coming out of the black and then disappearing again, and also to do like sound design where you have like a lot of black, so you feel the presence with the sound design, we distort some sounds, but you feel there's something there. We make steps, we make a lot of things that you don't realize, and you have like all this black and just a little light moving here or moving there. Also because we're talking about, you know, death and these things that we don't know.
Yeah, there's an outer crust or an outer limit world, I guess, out there. That's hard to, like, it's not as palpable, right?
Yeah, it's about our subject.
I don't talk about sound design enough, and I don't consider it enough, especially during a first viewing, but it really is a sensorial experience, and I think that's why a film like this it speaks a language that a lot of people can relate to. Was there ever a moment in the writing process where that was more overt and you were making much more of a defiant statement, let's say, about, you know, these mothers and these families that are on the other side of the coin? Did you ever, like, how assertive were you when you were first, the project was first gestating in the process?
Well, for me, this political background and context is very important. It's something that shapes people's life in a way. Disrupts into families and, you know, like makes people change from place to place. So it's a context that's always there and that she's always carrying with her. But I didn't want to make like a film. For me, what touches is like the human condition and like the family thing and her with the kids, and this is what is really touched me deeply. So it's like the microcosm and the macro and microcosm at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was always like, for me, it was very clear that this was a context that will pass on televisions, on the radio. You see like what is going on.
Yeah.
And then of course on the assemblies.
Yeah.
I thought that they would discuss the peace agreement.
Okay.
Should we vote or that? But then when I started like listening to them, when they were like actually
real people concerns.
Yeah, and we did a cast of people who lived the conflict. So we had an ex guy from the FARC who was in the FARC for 15 years.
Wow.
No, actually 20 years and 15 years in jail. We had a guy who was paramilitary. We had a mother of a guerrilla guy. We have kids who have had their families, her father
torn apart, displaced.
So we had people from all sides of conflicts, and we told them about this scene was about, and if they were comfortable to tell their story of their lives there.
Yeah.
I was very scared that nobody would show up, but they actually showed up.
Of course.
And it was so powerful because I believe it was the first time that they heard the story of one another. And they saw how similar they were, you know, like they were all victims of the same conflicts, even if they were on opposite sides. So we were all crying like the all the crew could not stop, you know, it was like
a
very
cathartic
strong
moment, yeah.
And then when I was like, while I was shooting and when I was editing, I was together with Renata editing, I just like, okay, this scene is not about the peace agreement, this scene is about forgiveness, which is actually like what they were discussing when they were going there to vote. Am I able to forgive or not? That's what people were actually...
Yeah, they want to be heard.
Yes.
Which is like the most, it's solace. That's how you find a roadmap, right?
Yeah. So it became personal again, you know, it's not...
So what are, having not seen your first film, getting a sense of what it could be, what are some like, and maybe you already know your next project, but what are some of the, I mean, we're going through a really bizarre political time throughout the world, especially in Brazil. So what are some of your obsessions or curiosities? Like, how does that, your personal life as an artist, but also as a human being, how does it align itself with the type of cinema that you want to make? Like, where are you headed towards next, perhaps?
Well, I don't know how to... I believe the films that we make is a part of the life that we live. So for some reason, I'm very interested in politics. I'm very involved in social movements. So I believe whatever I do, this is going to be together, you know?
Yeah. Hand in hand.
Yeah, for me, it's just like something that is. It comes out of my life, you know. If I start living another way, maybe this won't be there. So it's a concern that I have, and I believe it's going to be shown up. Also, I believe this kind of spiritual kind of quest, or you know, like also is something that is inside my interests, and somehow it appears on the film, you know.
Like everyday life, do you do a lot of writing? Do you have like a schedule where you're writing your screenplay? Do you are you more perhaps you're reading
before I had a kid, yes, I would like wake up, write silence,
well that's
great.
That's threw a wrench to your
like,
plans.
Whatever time I have, I write.
That screwed up everything.
No, but I love. It's one of the process that I like the most is writing.
Yeah,
I love it. Yes.
Oh, great.
And researching. I love research and go and listen more. Like for example, I've been in a group of restorative justice circles in Brazil.
Okay.
For almost 2 years, like I'm part of
active
this
member.
movement. Yes,
okay.
And I believe because I've been doing that for 2 and something years,
yeah.
I made that scene like of the assembly.
Of course.
Yeah, for me, it's just I don't know.
It informs you in your life, but also in your art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the. I'll end with this: the luminosity in the final act, even going into the credits of the film, and how it just like there's this like rainbow of colors and
the fluorescence.
Yeah, like I was wondering. Like at first, I'm like a little bit dumb with this. I actually thought, oh, there's a purpose for them wearing these clothing so that they could find themselves in the middle of the night and whatnot. But then I saw obviously that there's like an artistic touch. You know, there's a purposeful artistic idea behind that. And again, it traverses, you know, actual real life worlds into perhaps this other dimension, if you will. I was wondering how you came up with the idea for that specifically, because it is. I mean, I don't want to render it or simplify it. It is poetic. It is there. It is a nice touch, but there is an intent behind that. So I was wondering if, I mean, I don't think you picked that up from there. I don't think people are like lighting their boats with that stuff. So how is that aspect sort of introduced or embedded into this?
That was the third thing of the director direction, like on the photography.
Yes.
So one was the outside of the frame, the other was the black things, and the third one was this fluorescent thing, which were, well, people, it's a risky thing. It's something that I have to talk a lot with the DOP and the art director, because they were like, you're crazy, you're going to do that. I said, yes, let's do that, let's do. I mean, in the Amazon, they use a lot those colors. It's something that is very popular. So,
okay.
I mean, on the clothes and this and that.
For practical reasons, right?
No, what I discovered is that on their rituals with ayahuasca, you know,
No, I don't.
It's a hallucinogenic drink.
Okay.
That they have in some indigenous rituals there.
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of acid kind of trip. And they say when they have those rituals, they see the spirits and the forest on those colors.
Even though that's the intent, I think you could see it as a very palpable thing, and I think it has a lot to do with that warmth that's created within the family. Actually, I'll end with this question because while we were talking about that, I was thinking of Tai Joe a little bit. So, what are some of your filmmaker peers that adhere to cinema that you appreciate? Who are your favorite filmmakers?
I love a lot of people from Asia.
Yeah.
Jacques is one of them. You know the film that he produced, Life After Life?
No, I've never seen that.
It was one of the films that I saw in a festival.
Okay.
While I was making the script, who gave me like, okay, and it's a way
into, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's
Interesting.
something that Brilhante Mendonça also, of course, Pichapong, Ho Shaoshan, Simon Liang, many of them.
Slow cinema.
I like it.
Yeah.
And the fixed camera, I like when things just, I don't like traveling because I feel manipulated when you're just like, whoa, look at these.
Yeah.
I like when just things they appear, they come to me. And in that way, Kiarostami is also like a big influence. Like just record things happens, like you're just there and you see things happening. You don't need to be taking people to look here, and like close-ups for me are very specific close-ups. I like to be like a little with distance.
Okay. Cool. Beatriz, thank you
Thanks, yeah.
so much for your time. Congratulations.